In this video, I'll first introduce 8 metaphors of organizations that serve as lenses through which we can view organizations from different angles. Organization as machine, brain, organism, culture, psychic prison, a system of politics, flux and transformation, and a tool of domination. I'll then introduce a new metaphor, organization as algorithm. This metaphor came from an article I came across recently that captures the changes that the AI era brings to our understanding of organizational dynamics. What is a metaphor, and why do we need a metaphor to understand organizations? Metaphors are powerful linguistic tools that create vivid mental images. They help in communication and cognition, especially when discuss complex and abstract concepts. Metaphors simplify intricate or abstract concepts by drawing parallels to familiar and concrete experiences. Organizations are intricate systems with numerous interconnected components, such as people, processes, structure, hierarchy, authority, and culture. Metaphors simplify this complexity by providing a familiar framework to relate to. For example, when we describe organization as a machine, we're highlighting its focus on efficiency and processes, making it easier to grasp this aspect. If an organization is metaphorically seen as an organism, administrators may prioritize adaptability and evolution in their decision-making to align with this perspective. Different metaphors emphasize different organizational aspects, such as efficiency, adaptability, or culture. Think of these metaphors as different lenses on the camera, each offering a unique perspective to capturing specific dimensions of an organizational landscape. Administrators can use metaphors to strike a balance in their decisions, ensuring that they consider a broad spectrum of organizational needs and values. Let's start with the existing metaphors. It's been 3 decades since Gareth Morgan's groundbreaking book, Images of Organization, was first published. This book was truly exceptional, not only because it offered a unique and thought-provoking take on organizational theory, but also because of its enduring impact. The book provides 8 metaphors to describe organizations. First, organizations as machines. This metaphor focuses on achieving greater efficiency and making the most of our workforce. In this metaphor, organizations operate much like machines. It excels in stable environment with repeatable tasks, ensuring efficiency, reliability, and control. In this metaphor, stability is key. The structured hierarchy, clearly defined lines of authority, and well-established responsibilities are reminiscent of the cogs and gears in a well-maintained mechanical system. Every component of the organization has a specific role, just as each gear in a clock has its precise function. This rigidity can be highly effective in environments where tasks are repetitive and require consistent execution. However, organizations as machines have rigid structures that make it difficult to adapt quickly to changes. Much like a mechanical clock with its fixed design and limited functionality, organizations that fit the machine metaphor may struggle to pivot swiftly when faced with changes. The emphasis on routine, efficiency, and control can undermine their adaptability to respond quickly to dynamic environments and unseen challenges. Think of a smartphone. Unlike a traditional machine, a smartphone is versatile and adaptable. It can perform a wide variety of functions, such as making phone calls, sending messages, taking photos and videos, browsing the internet, and serving as a GPS navigation device. This is because the smartphone is designed to be flexible and responsive to user needs. This contrast highlights how the structure and process of an organization, as framed by its chosen metaphor, can profoundly impact its adaptability and responsiveness to evolving challenges. The metaphors of organizations as a machine strongly influences administrative decision-making by emphasizing efficiency, precision, predictability, and reliability as primary goals. Administrators may prioritize strict adherence to procedures and hierarchies, potentially overlooking the need for flexibility or adaptation to changing circumstances. When organizations are seen as machines, administrative decisions tend to prioritize streamlining processes and optimizing resource allocation to achieve maximum efficiency. Just like a well-oiled machine, every component of the organization is expected to perform its specific role with consistency. However, this mechanistic view can have consequences on administrative decision-making. Bureaucracy becomes a central element of organization, with predefined roles and standardized procedures aimed at ensuring smooth operations. While this approach can lead to efficiency, it sometimes overlooks the human element, stifling creativity and innovation and making people feel replaceable. The second metaphor of organizations is organizations as brains. When we view organizations this way, organizations are complex entities that blend centralized and decentralized characteristics, much like the human brain. The brain has a centralized structure, like the cerebral cortex, responsible for high-level decision-making, information processing, and overall coordination of different functions. Similar to the brain's cerebral cortex, organizations have central leadership, often represented by executives or top-level management. This centralized authority provides overall direction, sets strategic goals, and ensures alignment with the organization's mission and vision. The brain also has decentralized processing units. For example, our brains have billions of neurons, each functioning as an individual processing unit. Those neurons work autonomously and are responsible for processing information in different regions of the brain. Likewise, organizations consist of numerous departments, teams, or units, each functioning as semi-autonomous entities. Those decentralized units handle specific tasks, functions, or areas of expertise. They operate independently while contributing to the overall functioning of the organization. Administrators, guided by the metaphor of organizations as brains, prioritize creating systems and processes that allow the organization to self-regulate. For example, our brains have top-down and bottom-up attention mechanisms. Top-down attention is the brain's ability to focus consciously on specific tasks or goals, guiding its resources and processing towards relevant information while filtering out distractions. For example, you're preparing for an important meeting. Your brain engages top-down attention by consciously focusing on specific details. It guides your cognitive resources towards the details while filtering out distractions, such as your cell phones or unrelated thoughts. Similarly, administrators in an organization engage top-down attention by defining the goal, outlining strategies to achieve it, and providing guidance to teams on how to prioritize activities that align with this overarching goal. In this way, the organization's resources and efforts are consciously directed towards a specific target, much like the brain's top-down attention. Now let's explore the parallel between the brain's bottom-up attention and organizational practices. When you walk down a busy street, your brain's bottom-up attention systems are triggered when you suddenly hear a car honking or a loud noise. Those unexpected stimuli capture your attention, causing your brain to redirect cognitive resources to evaluate the situation and respond accordingly. In organizations, administrators recognize the importance of allowing different departments or teams to make decisions autonomously when faced with unexpected challenges or opportunities. In a school district, administrators understand the importance of allowing individual school principals or teachers to make decisions autonomously when faced with unexpected situations. For example, if a school principal identifies a unique learning need among their students that was not initially accounted for in the district-wide curriculum, they have the autonomy to adjust teaching strategies or resources to address that need. This bottom-up approach empowers educators to respond to specific student requirements in real time, similar to the brain's bottom-up attention to unexpected stimuli. By drawing those parallels with concrete examples, we can better understand how the brain's attention systems align with organizational practices, emphasizing the importance of both top-down guidance and bottom-up autonomy in achieving efficient and adaptive resource allocation. The metaphor of organizations as brains recognize the need for adaptability and flexibility. They understand that in a rapidly changing environment, rigid structure and procedures may hinder progress. Administrative decisions are geared towards enabling the organization to adapt quickly to new challenges and opportunities. The third metaphor of organizations is organization and organism. Imagine organizations as open systems, much like living organisms. They need to thrive and expand by being adaptable, flexible, and responsive to their environment. This perspective stands in stark contrast to the machine metaphor, which portrays organizations as lifeless machines incapable of growth or adaptation. When administrators adopt this metaphor, they prioritize several key principles inspired by the characteristics of living organisms. First, administrators recognize that organizations, like living beings, must adapt to changes in their environments. They understand that rigid structures and practices can hinder an organization's ability to thrive. Therefore, decision makers focus on creating adaptive strategies that allow the organization to respond effectively to external shifts, such as changes in regulations or social environment. Second, administrators acknowledge that external factors, including economic, social, and technological changes, can significantly impact the organization's well-being. Therefore, decision-making involves regularly monitoring the external environment and adjusting strategies and operations accordingly. This proactive approach helps organizations anticipate challenges and seize opportunities. The fourth metaphor for organizations is viewing them as cultures, drawing from the concept of culture in anthropology. In anthropology, culture is understood as a system characterized by shared meanings and symbols. When we extend this concept to organizational culture, it becomes an ongoing process that necessitates intentional actions to create understanding, facilitate idea exchange, and acquire insights and improve communication in the organization. When administrators embrace this metaphor, they are guided by the concept of culture as a system of shared meanings. In this metaphor, organizational culture are viewed as dynamic and emergent phenomena. Administrators understand that culture is not a fixed entity, but a continuous process of meaning-making and sense-sharing. Decisions take into account the role of culture in shaping how employees perceive their roles, interact with one another, and align with the organization's objectives. Administrative decisions are also guided by the goal of reinforcing and aligning actions with those core cultural elements. This ensures that the organization's culture remains a source of shared identity. Each organization has a unique set of values, beliefs, traditions, and rituals. Shared culture can strengthen an organization, but it may also lead to rigidity. Have you ever heard the quote, "Culture eats a strategy for lunch"? It means that no matter how well crafted a strategy may be, it can be undermined or even rendered ineffective by an unhealthy or rigid organizational culture. Employees are resistant to change. Communication breakdowns make it challenging to execute its strategy. For example, according to Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk, when it comes to hiring at SpaceX, Musk follows the principle when hiring, looking for people with the right attitude. Skills can be taught. Attitude change requires a brain transplant. But at Boeing, when a young engineer proposed innovative ideas to the vice president and cautioned the vice president, if Boeing doesn't change, you're going to lose out on the top talent. The vice president responded, maybe we want the people who are not the best, but who will stick around longer. That engineer left Boeing and embraced the values of SpaceX, where attitudes like his were welcomed. Another reason that makes Tesla and SpaceX so innovative is its rule-breaking culture. For example, in Elon Musk companies, the only rules are the ones that are dictated by the laws of physics. Everything else is a recommendation. This perspective underlies a commitment to innovation over tradition, urging that organizational practices be flexible and open to scrutiny rather than shackled by ingrained but potentially unfounded beliefs about the proper way to operate. Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk later elaborates on it by a longer quote. Question every requirement. Each should come with the name of the person who made it. You should never accept that a requirement came from a department, such as from the legal department or the safety department. You need to know the name of the real person who made that requirement. Then you should question it, no matter how smart that person is. Requirements from smart people are the most dangerous, because people are less likely to question them. Always do so, even if the requirement came from me. Then make the requirements less dumb. The fifth metaphor of organizations is organization as psychic prisons. Here, the term psychic prison is a metaphorical expression, meaning the mental and emotional constraints that we feel trapped, restricted, or psychologically confined by the organization's culture, norms, practices, or leadership. In this metaphor, the organization is likened to a prison in the sense that it can create a psychological environment that limits individual freedom, creativity, and expression. Employees may feel constrained in their ability to think independently, voice their opinions, or deviate from established norms and practices. This can lead to a sense of frustration, stagnation, or dissatisfaction among organizational members. One example of how the psychic prison metaphor manifests in organizations is through the phenomenon of groupthink. Groupthink occurs when a group of people prioritize consensus over critical evaluation of ideas, leading to a suppression of dissenting viewpoints and a tendency to conform to the prevailing group opinion. Using the psychic prison metaphor, we can consider groupthink as a psychological constraint imposed by the organization. When we feel pressured to the group's thinking, we may suppress our own ideas and unique perspectives. This can create a sense of being trapped in the collective mindset, undermining our ability to think independently and critically voice our opinions and challenge established norms and practices. The consequence of groupthink can be detrimental to administrative decision-making. It may lead to poor choices, overlooked risk, and a lack of innovative solutions. Moreover, it can contribute to a sense of frustration, stagnation, or dissatisfaction among organizational members who feel their individuality and creativity are stifled. However, the psychic prison metaphor also suggests the possibility of breaking free from those constraints. The psychic prison metaphor also encourages discussion about whether we can challenge the prevailing mindset, introduce fresh ideas, and promote a culture that values diversity of thought. While it is not easy to escape the psychological confines of an organization, recognizing the existence of those constraints is the first step toward creating a more open and innovative organizational culture. Administrators need to recognize both the conscious and unconscious elements, such as policies, protocols, routines, and unsettling incidents, which can lead to negative outcomes in organizations. This metaphor emphasizes that by being aware of those effects and actively managing them through cultural transformation and changes, administrators can steer the organization in the right direction. The sixth metaphor of organizations is organization as a system of politics. The political metaphor encourages us to see organizations as a loose network of individuals with different interests who come together for practical reasons. When we view organizations as systems of politics, power serves as a way to resolve conflicts of interest. The political metaphor highlights how power dynamics play out in organizations, sometimes benefiting those in charge, even in systems where power is shared. For example, in a large organization, there is a leadership team comprising top executives who hold significant decision-making authority. Moreover, there is a board of directors representing stakeholders' interests. On the surface, it may seem like power is shared between those two groups, but the political metaphor reveals underlying dynamic. While the board of directors usually has power over the executives, in reality, a subset of influential stakeholders wields significant influence over board decisions. Those stakeholders may donate a substantial amount of funds for the board members' election campaign or have personal relationships with the board members. As a result, they can sway decisions in their favor, such as approving executive compensation packages that benefit the top leadership. In the organization, different departments or divisions may align themselves with specific executives or board members. Those internal factions seek to gain favor with those in power, much like political parties vying for influence. They may engage in lobbying tactics such as presenting data or arguments that support their interests to secure resources, budgets, or projects. Then there is office politics. Lower-level employees often engage in office politics to navigate the power landscape. They may seek mentors or allies among executives or board members to advance their careers. Moreover, they may withhold information or engage in subtle power struggles to gain advantages in their teams. Employees who are part of influential networks may have greater access to decision makers and can shape organizational decisions through personal connections. Over time, the political metaphor suggests that power is not evenly distributed. Despite the appearance of shared governance, a select few individuals or groups hold more sway over critical decisions. This power imbalance can result in decisions that primarily benefit those in charge, potentially at the expense of other stakeholders. The seventh metaphor of organizations is organization as a flux and transformation. This metaphor describes organizations as being all about self-reference, chaos, complexity, paradox, contradiction, and crisis. Organizations are constantly changing and adapting entities. They rely on both their internal dynamics and external surroundings to survive. For example, a tech startup launches a new mobile app. Initially, users provide positive feedback, leading to increased downloads and revenue. However, over time, users encounter glitches and bugs, leading to negative feedback. In response, the development team uses this feedback loop to continuously update and improve the app. This iterative process of feedback-driven transformation allows the organization to adapt to user needs and preferences, ensuring its long-term success. However, there are risks associated with organizations that become too self-centered, creating boundaries that limit their awareness of the larger context in which they operate. This can be problematic for long-term adaptation and survival. Those organizations may not see the world as it truly is. Motorola can serve as an example. Historically known for its dominance in the mobile phone industry, Motorola faced significant challenges as it struggled to adapt to evolving market dynamics and emerging technologies. In the early 2000s, Motorola's mobile phone division primarily focused on its successful line of mobile phones. While those phones were popular at the time, the company's reluctance to embrace smartphones and shifting consumer preferences for touchscreen devices created a significant competitive disadvantage. This resistance to change and failure to recognize external shifts in technology and consumer demand led to decline in Motorola's market share and profitability. Managing the rate of change and control is an important task for senior managers, balancing adaptability and accountability. When changes are too rapid, organizations may risk destabilizing their operation and overwhelming their employees. Rapid change can lead to confusion, decreased morale, and a loss of focus on strategic goals. On the other hand, when changes are too slow or resistant to adaptation, organizations can become stagnant and miss out on valuable opportunities for growth. Administrators must find the right equilibrium, ensuring the pace of change aligns with the organization's capacity for adjustment while maintaining clear and steady course toward their strategic objectives. The eighth metaphor of organization is organization as a tool of domination. When organizations operate as instruments of control, employees and administrators often feel that their job security is uncertain. Top executives exercise tight control over all decisions, and employees have little autonomy. Employees feel compelled to conform to rigid policies and directives, fearing repercussions if they question authority or suggest alternative approaches. Employees may experience high levels of stress and anxiety due to the oppressive work environment. Job satisfaction is low, leading to high turnover rates and difficulty retaining talent. Creativity and innovation are stifled as employees are discouraged from proposing new ideas. The organization's focus is solely on profit and efficiency, often neglecting ethical considerations. For example, Enron, once a prominent energy company, became infamous for its involvement in one of the most significant corporate scandals in history. Enron's top executives exerted significant control over the organization. They not only dictated financial decisions, but also promoted a culture of fear and silence where employees were discouraged from questioning or reporting irregularities. The pursuit of profit and the desire to maintain a facade of success led to a series of unethical actions that eventually resulted in the company's downfall. All of the 8 metaphors have provided valuable theoretical insights, but they were developed in a time before the prevalence of algorithms and the complex interplay between organizations, environments, and technology that characterize today's landscape. To address this limitation, a new metaphor is introduced: organizations as algorithm. Here, algorithms means a set of step-by-step instructions or procedures that are used by organizations, often with the assistance of technology and artificial intelligence, to make decisions, solve problems, and perform different tasks. Those algorithms can be used in a wide range of processes, from data analysis and prediction to decision-making and optimization. Essentially, organizations increasingly rely on systematic and data-driven approaches guided by algorithms to operate efficiently and effectively in the AI era. Here are three main insights provided by organizations as algorithms. Insight 1. Agency resides in assemblages, not humans, algorithms, or data. Here, agency refers to the power of both humans and non-human elements, like algorithms and technology, to take action, make decisions, and impact what happens in an organization. Imagine it in an ongoing process. It's not a one-time plan dictated from above. For example, adaptive learning systems in education use algorithms to customize the learning experience for each student. The algorithms are always at work evaluating how well a student is doing, adjusting the difficulty of questions, and suggesting relevant study materials. In this case, the agency belongs not just to humans, but also to the algorithms, actively tailoring the learning journey for each student based on their strengths and weaknesses. So when we talk about agency, we are exploring how humans, algorithms, and technology all play a part in the workings of organizations. They collaborate and influence each other to achieve specific goals and outcomes. It's like a symphony of different elements working together to create the organizational tune. This metaphor of organizations as algorithms takes us beyond thinking algorithms as simple tools to achieve goals. It sees algorithms as a fundamental part of how organizations operate, with the power to bring both positive and negative impacts on organizational activities. They are active forces that shape and reshape how organizations work. Large language models can take personalized inputs and generate unique outputs every time they are used. This makes agency, the ability to influence and decide, much more flexible and interconnected than in the traditional technologies. Organizations can choose to embrace this flexibility or try to control it through stricter rules and engineering. Either way, it opens up exciting possibilities for using those tools in different fields like education, medicine, and management. The second insight of the metaphor of organization as algorithms is the critical role of data in how organizations function and make decisions. Algorithms rely on data to operate, and they also produce more data as they go along. In the digital era, information about individuals is often deduced from their online activities. As administrators, it's important to understand the data used to train algorithms. The process of preparing the data, which involves data sources and data cleaning, has a direct impact on how those algorithms make decisions. Different models use different data sources, and this can significantly influence the outcomes, which in turn influence organizational activities. For example, an organization uses an algorithmic system to assist in the hiring process. This system relies on a diverse set of data sources, including resumes, application forms, and interview transcripts, to evaluate candidates. Different algorithms may use different data sources or have different cleaning processes. For example, one algorithm may prioritize interview performance, while another algorithm focuses more on resume details. The choice of algorithms and data preparation approach can significantly influence hiring decisions. If one algorithm heavily weighs interview performance, it may factor candidates who excel in interviews but have less impressive resumes. On the other hand, an algorithm emphasizing resume details may prioritize candidates with strong qualifications on paper. Understanding those nuances in data sources and algorithmic processes is important for administrators. It directly affects how an organization identifies and selects potential employees. By being mindful of those factors, you can improve your hiring practices and ensure they align with your organization's goals and values. The third insight is programming and prompts are sources of expertise. The metaphor of organizations as algorithms also highlights the role of prompting and programming in how algorithmic systems organize and make decisions. When it comes to prompting, think of it as how those algorithms learn and think. When you write detailed, specific prompts, the algorithms tend to perform better. What's more, algorithms can actually prompt each other based on their history, just like students discussing and learning from one another. When it comes to algorithms, expertise becomes a collaborative process through skilled prompting. For administrators, this implies a shift in how expertise is cultivated and leveraged in organizations. Instead of relying solely on traditional hierarchies of expertise, there is an opportunity to leverage the collective intelligence of both human professionals and algorithmic systems. Administrators can facilitate an environment where skilled prompting and collaborative learning are encouraged, creating a dynamic and adaptable approach to problem solving and decision making. Consider a teacher evaluation AI tool. The AI tool may appear to perform impressively according to standardized metrics. However, the real-world outcomes may not meet your expectations. Why is that? The AI tools were primarily trained on uncertain expert knowledge, a challenge that AI often finds difficult to navigate. Now, as administrators, you play a key role in this collaborative learning process. Your practical human knowledge and expertise are valuable in dealing with the uncertainties that AI sometimes struggles with. Recognizing the importance of your human touch when addressing uncertainty is a key step. It can significantly influence your decision-making process, ensuring that technology aligns seamlessly with your organization's objectives. This synergy between administrators and AI tools creates a more effective and purpose-driven educational environment. In this video, I introduced 9 organizational metaphors. The first 8 metaphors came from Gareth Morgan's groundbreaking blog, Images of Organization. The last metaphor came from a recently published article titled Organizations as Algorithms, a new metaphor for advancing management theory. Here is my question for you. In your workplace, how do the 9 metaphorical lenses through which you view your organization impact problem solving and collaboration? Can you identify instances where different metaphors can be applied to better understand and address organizational challenges? Feel free to leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.